Hi and welcome to The Print. My name is Karanjeet Kaur and I'm a journalist and an editor. Today I'll be reading some excerpts from my column on the intensely controversial film Hamare Bara and the WhatsAppification of Indian propaganda cinema. 7 uniformed policemen guarded an audience of 6 people who showed up to watch Hamare Bara at an East Delhi cinema hall. The sparse crowd might have indicated an apparent lack of interest in the Islamophobic screed. But the cops, present there to presumably ensure a non-violent screening, seemed much more engaged, judging by their laughter and enthusiastic applause. The controversy that plagued the film was all but forgotten in the nearly empty theatre. More than one petition against the movie argued that it insults Islamic beliefs, misinterprets the Quran, and portrays Muslim women as the property of Muslim men. The film, written by Rajan Agarwal and directed by Kamal Chandra, was allowed a release after a CBFC panel asked the Bombay High Court for more time to deliberate, and the filmmakers agreed to delete 2 contentious dialogues, not because the film was deemed unobjectionable. I really wonder how much incremental damage the deleted or muted dialogues could have inflicted, when the movie's intent to target the Muslim community was clear long before its release. Still, if you're planning to watch Hamare Bara, here are the bare bones and some spoilers ahead. Alfia, a brave young woman from a large, impoverished Muslim family, takes her father to court. The high-risk pregnancy her stepmother is coerced into carrying could result in her death. What unfolds is less a court case and more a circus, with arguments oscillating between women's rights and religious dogma. Predictably, the court bows to the wishes of the mother who doesn't want to abort, resulting in her tragic martyrdom, and cue the repentant father in a finale as contrived as it is convenient. Now I know that elevator pitch doesn't sound too bad, but I can assure you it is worse. Every Muslim stereotype you can dream of is offered up within the first 20 minutes of the film. Mansoor Ali Khan Sanjari, played by Anu Kapoor, is a famous kawal in the streets and a draconian tyrant in the sheets. He has a chokehold over the burqa-clad women of his household, daughters, granddaughter, and young wife alike, who are all depicted without any agency. He is a Luddite who won't be dragged into modernity. Ruh Afza is as commonplace as phrases like Amma Mia and La Haul Wala Quwwat, and the Kajal budget for the film was probably out of control. Now, imputing logic or subtlety to a movie like Hamare Bara is a little like knitting fog. We could have expected a scintilla of nuance in the sea of hamminess if there was even a single Muslim in the top-billed cast and crew. There isn't. Meanwhile, Kapoor's character is a walking, talking side of every Hindu anxiety you have encountered in the depths of WhatsApp and Telegram. He symbolizes a community that, in the Hindu imagination, is a study in contrast. The Indian Muslim man is simultaneously dirt poor, but somehow also has the time and means to entrap innocent Hindu women. He is extremely conservative, but just modern enough to engage in premarital sex while walking the path of love jihad. He is also extremely virile and attractive to Hindu women, while supposedly receiving education in a madrasa, which does not prepare him for the world. The most crucial part of a Muslim man's mental makeup is his supposedly exclusive, dictatorial attitude towards Muslim women. It is as if one community alone denies women their right to bodily autonomy, the liberty to pursue a modern education and passions, financial independence, and love lives devoid of external pressures. According to the film, the abuse of women is perpetrated solely by the Muslim community, as if every Hindu, Sikh, Christian, Dalit, or Adivasi woman does not live in mortal fear of their own safety and health. I could keep going, but instead of getting knotted up in the details, it's far more interesting to see where Hamare Bara fits in the hierarchy of propaganda films being produced in India today. There is the slick propaganda film, like Uri, The Surgical Strike, and Article 370, which at least cloak their narratives in the valor of the armed forces and a sheen of production finesse. These are aimed at erecting an image of an aggressive India, unafraid of taking tough decisions. Then there are uplifting films about government schemes and initiatives, like Toilet Ek Prem Katha and Mission Mangal. These often star Akshay Kumar in the leading role. There is the hagiography, for instance, Main Atal Hoon, or the alt biopic about Veer Savarkar, both of which intend to cast their protagonists in a soft glow that reflects well on the ruling BJP. At the bottom of the hierarchy is the openly communal propaganda film, like Hamare 12, which operates with none of the pretense of others in the genre. Last year's The Kerala Story walked, so Hamare 12 or JNU Jahangir National University could run. These are films that are based on WhatsApp headlines and meant for piecemeal WhatsApp circulation. They unabashedly trade in fear-mongering and divisiveness, making them prime candidates for a WhatsApp forwarding frenzy. I have seen several scenes from Gadar 2, particularly one where chants of Hindustan Zindabad resound, doing the rounds of social media. There's also a long scene from Article 370, which is a fictionalized sequence of Home Minister Amit Shah's argument in the Parliament that has been converted into an Instagram reel. From The Kerala Story, the lead protagonist's plea to rescue 32,000 converted women like her, which is based on an outright fabrication, has been repeated so often that it is now used in arguments as irrefutable fact. This theory came into sharp focus as I watched the cops watch the movie, whipping out their phones at every blustery monologue, because a high-octane monologue is a must for WhatsApp circulation, even when it's devoid of any logic. Around the halfway mark, a policeman who was recording the scene where Alfia files a petition for her stepmother's abortion exclaimed at the screen, "Ye bhi Modi ji ki deen hai." He meant abortion, and it isn't. India has had the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act since 1971, even though Indian women cannot access elective abortions. But with due apologies to the Bible, the truth has a short life, but a lie lives on forever. And Hamare 12 is replete with half-truths and propaganda talking points that are primed for WhatsAppification. Chief among this is the hard launch of the Population Control Bill. All of the film's efforts and interests dovetail towards this bill, which has been on the BJP's agenda for many years. Social media platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp have helped solidify calls in favor of regulating India's population. An Al Jazeera report tracked the online ecosystems that whip up support for a bill like this because it is rooted in Islamophobia. Now, this ecosystem drip feeds anti-Muslim propaganda to a mostly Hindu audience. It is aided by another lie that refuses to die, that Muslims are producing more children in a coordinated effort to alter the demography of India. There are thousands of versions of the fact-free message that only Muslims get subsidies and freebies, while hardworking Hindus pay the taxes that fund them. It doesn't matter how many critiques there are of such a bill, or the fact that the total fertility rate among all religions has declined. It doesn't matter that the decadal growth rate among Muslims declined at a much sharper rate than any other community, according to the government's own data. And it also doesn't matter that many religious and political leaders have asked Hindu women to produce more children. Because what we will see on WhatsApp is a clip from Hamare 12, where an imam exhorts Muslim women to keep reproducing and treat that as the gospel truth. But the facts should matter. When calls for the population control bill are inevitably renewed, we should remember that one community alone is not responsible for India's population. I hope we will recall that India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is one of 6 siblings. Home Minister Amit Shah has 6 sisters. UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, who unveiled the Uttar Pradesh population policy in 2021, which is aimed at removing hurdles to development, is one among 6 brothers and sisters. Actor Ravi Kishan, who wanted to table the PCB as a private member's bill, is one of 5 siblings and has 4 children with his wife, possibly a 5th one with another woman. Say what you will about the BJP. Leading by example is not its strongest suit, because 50% of BJP MLAs in UP alone have 3 or more children. As Hamare Bara concludes its cinematic assault, it leaves behind a landscape where boundaries no longer mean anything. Each share and replay from the film is a slow injection of venom in the bloodstream of our collective consciousness, where fiction is recited as fact. As clips from films like these embed themselves into everyday conversations, they transform into unquestioned reality. From here, the pipeline goes directly to campaign speeches. Remember how PM Modi referenced the Kerala story at a rally in Karnataka? It all makes its way back into the discourse. And what remains in the aftermath of such an incendiary film? A nation divided beyond repair.